Chapter 41. Am I late, Mr. Jiraiya? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Normally, a ninja hits their prime between 20 and 40. Some exceptional ones can stretch that out. Jiraiya got picked by Hiruzen Sarutobi young because of his massive chakra reserves. Training at Mount Myaboku let him catch up with Orochimaru after initially lagging behind. His fighting style mirrors Sarutobi Hiruzen's the most among the three. It's super well-rounded and can handle just about anything, the Three Ninjas thing. It was kind of a lame title at first. It was Orochimaru and Jiraiya's performance in the war that turned it into a legend. Jiraiya had pushed himself as far as a normal person could. Too bad, he was up against a monster. The brutal fight went on. Huge swaths of forest on the edge of the land of hot springs got leveled. The half-transformed Eight Tails, Gyuki, reared back and squeezed yin and yang chakra into a 2-to-8 ratio ball. Boom. The pressure was so intense the ground cracked and sank. The Raikage team stood behind him, their clothes a bit ripped. Go back and chow down on some more meat so you can get bigger. If you could throw a thunder blade with the same power as me, you could totally take that guy. Got it, bro. Yo. You fool, you fool. Jiraiya, I can't block that thing. Gamabunta, clutching his short sword with his frog claws, was breathing hard. Regular-tailed beast attacks. Easy. But he didn't have anything to counter a tailed beast ball. Bunta, you should head back. If I get a chance, I'll use reverse summoning back to Mount Myaboku. Hey. You think? Bang. Before Gamabunta could finish, Jiraiya cut the summoning. He couldn't use his partner to block that blast. Earth-style, multiple earth wall technique. Layer after layer of thick earth walls rose from the ground, and then, ninja art, needle Jizo. Jiraiya got completely buried under a mountain of long white hair, with just one eye peeking out. Hope this works. If only Orochimaru were here, he could block it with his triple Rashomon. Boom. The massive-tailed beast balls screamed toward them with unstoppable force. The earth cracked and the air felt like it was on fire. Bang. 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 The earth walls were like paper. Totally useless. It was like a raging prehistoric beast, charging with everything it had. It left a bottomless trench in its wake. Almost there, wrapped in his silver-white hair, Jiraiya could only hope his hair was thick enough to hold out until Bunta found the Toad Sage and summoned him. Am I late, Jiraiya-sensei? A warm chakra, like sunshine, let Jiraiya lift his furry curtain a bit. Minato. Mirror. Hey, hey. Can't you see me? Fiery red hair danced, radiating red chakra. Kushina. What are you? Let me blast this thing away first, then we can talk. A chakra cloak formed instantly, and a black energy body solidified. Jiraiya's eyes went wide. Kushina could already use the Ninetales power. The air seemed to freeze. The sheer pressure made it hard to breathe. The two forces smashed together like comets. Boom. A blinding light exploded, blotting out even the sun. A shock wave ripped outwards, centered on the impact. The earth buckled under a giant's hammer, cracks spiderwebbing across the landscape, sand and rock flew, smoke billowed, and a doomsday storm swept across the battlefield. When the dust settled, Jiraiya pulled back his hair. What a mess, you old pervert. A handsome young man with slightly wavy black hair looked back, amusement dancing in his crimson eyes. It's just a tailed beast. Oh. Jiraiya laughed, relieved. Show some respect to your teacher, kid. After I caught you peeping in the women's bathhouse, I already know how handsome you are. Uchiha Kagami let a small sword slide from his sleeve, and holding up Sodi Shirayuki, he walked towards the Kumogakure camp step by step. He wasn't afraid of the half-transformed Gyuki. If it were Killer Bee, fully bonded with the Eight Tails, Kagami would think twice, but this rookie Jinchuriki? Probably easier to deal with than Rashi. This little punk, walking towards me like that, the nerve, that the Raikage couldn't stand the disrespect and strode out to meet him. Kagami walked, unhurried, each step perfectly measured, like strolling through a park. His three-tomo Sharingan were as cold as ice. Get out of my way. His attacks crashed like a storm. Chapter 42. You will definitely regret it. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Fear. What is fear, anyway? It's a basic human emotion, a survival instinct from way back when our ancestors faced the unknown, threats from wild animals, and natural disasters, and fear was their gut reaction. As an emotion, fear protects us. It drives us to protect ourselves and avoid danger, but from AI's point of view, the guy walking toward him wasn't some scrawny kid, he was a hellscape of ash rising from a sea of blood, he was a pair of scarlet eyes that swallowed the world whole, he was a razor-sharp blade about to slice you to pieces. AI's instinct screamed at him to run. Boom! Azure lightning exploded, shattering the tension. Kid! Who do you think I am? I'm Rakeage material. AI. Wrapping lightning around his body. Lightning release chakra mode. Jiraiya's eyes narrowed. He'd never seen anything like it. He'd underestimated this kid. Jiraiya was wrong, AI wasn't actually all that good at the lightning release chakra mode yet, and it wasn't exactly ideal for a coordinated fight. He was just pissed off that he'd felt fear. Ironically, that anger was the key. When you're scared, running is the right call, but if you face it, you might just gain something fast. Lightning fast. Bang! The air rippled outward like a cannonball hitting a brick wall. Quit making such a fuss. It just shows how weak you are. AI was a 2-meter-tall behemoth, his fist bigger than most people's heads, but it was stopped by that seemingly delicate hand. Compared to Uchiha Kagami's massive spiritual energy, his physical body was his weak point. He'd used Black Flash twice already, injuring himself in the process, which wasn't to say his body was fragile. How is this possible? Your strength. How could some punk stop a body that he had trained to peak condition day in and day out? Uchiha Kagami chuckled. What's so unbelievable? The only ones who can naturally overpower an Uchiha are the Senju and the Uzumaki. And you're definitely not one of them. You train hard day and night. So do I. There are monsters both inside and out, and what he needs to fight against is the torrent called fate. He's under more pressure than anyone. Uchiha Kagami pushed himself to the brink of collapse more than once. Shortness of breath, auditory hallucinations. Even then, he refused to quit until he'd squeezed every last drop of potential out of his body. Uchiha Kagami rarely thinks about whether he can change Uchiha history. He won't give up and go home after failing. If you fail, you die trying. Next, I'm throwing a right hook. Targeting your left chest. AI's expression froze. Uchiha Kagami's retracting hand threw him off balance. Black lightning crackled around Uchiha Kagami's fist. Get out of the way. Chutai roared, throwing up a protective barrier in front of AI with everything he had. Roar. The half-transformed Four Tails, Son Goku, charged in. AI and Uchiha Kagami were too close for long-range attacks. Having used Chakra Black Flash twice before, Uchiha Kagami had learned to manage the variables. Not every Black Flash needed to unleash a dust release level of power and risk blowing himself up, without hurting himself. Uchiha Kagami channeled his chakra to the max, combining it with a physical attack to target a space distortion caused by a microfraction of a second delay. Black Flash. Crack, the black lightning shattered the protective barrier and slammed into AI's left chest. Bang! The dull thud echoed like a cannonball hitting a castle wall. AI went flying backward, smashing through several boulders before finally stopping. Big brother. AI. Roar. A barrage of energy blasts erupted from Son Goku's mouth. Son Goku roared commands as he attacked. AI's still alive. You guys retreat. I'll cover you. Son Goku. Just go. The energy blasts were easily dispersed. These mass-produced chakra bombs couldn't hold a candle to a tailed beast bomb. Uchiha Kagami leaped into the air, heading straight for Son Goku. The Eight Tails had been his target from the start. Meanwhile, energy blasts rained down on Jiraiya and the others. This this is a battle of monsters. Mariboshi Kosuka was no slouch. He was well informed and capable, but facing a fight of this scale, all they could do was watch from the sidelines. As Jonin-level ninja, they weren't injured by the blast, and they quickly cast water and earth-style jutsu to counteract the attacks. Feels like there's no way to get involved. TSK, I wanted to show that little punk what's what. Kushina glanced at Minato and Jiraiya, who were both calm. Kami's fighting a Jinchuriki, and you guys aren't even worried. Jiraiya casually sat down to recover his chakra. I've been teaching that kid for over a year now. Talk about a strange fate. My students just keep getting more talented. Sorry, Minato, you were right here. Minato just chuckled and shook his head, telling Jiraiya it was fine. Jiraiya went on, the Uchiha are a bloodline clan that has been around for thousands of years. I'm a little concerned about that lightning user from before, but if he's up against a Jinchuriki, Kagami will be fine. Jiraiya looked at Kushina meaningfully, a slight smile on his lips. That kid's eye power is enough to scare even the Ninetales. Kushina suddenly clutched her head, her eyes flashing red. How many times do I have to tell you? That brat is Madara's reincarnation. Kill him. Kill him now. The violent chakra was taking over Kushina. This was bad. Without a word, Minato placed his hand on Kushina's stomach, performing a sealing jutsu. Fortunately, the chakra overflow was minimal and quickly brought under control. Kushina, are you alright? Kushina forced a smile, looking at Minato's concerned face so close to hers. I'm fine. Kyubi's just spouting nonsense again. Reincarnation, what does he know? As far as I know, there's no such thing as reincarnation in the ninja world. As the oldest one there, Mariboshi Kosuka weighed in. Well, I did hear from the old man that the dead in the ninja world go to the Pure Land to rest in peace. The second Hokage developed, never mind. Deep inside the seal, the Ninetales was chained to a massive stone. Each of his tails was pinned down. Assholes. Idiots. What do you morons know? Kill him now. If he keeps getting stronger. Stupid Kushina. Let me out and I'll kill him. Kushina's spiritual form appeared, frowning at the Kyubi. Can you stop yelling? You can't break my adamantine sealing chains. You just attacked me out of nowhere. Do you think I'm really afraid of you? Kyubi desperately tried to calm himself down. Being sealed was bad enough, but being controlled by Madara was a whole new level of terrifying. Kushina had never heard Kyubi speak without using some sort of exclamatory tone. Uchiha Madara was the one who manipulated the battle between me and Hashirama Senju. You can't imagine how terrifying that guy is. I'm telling you, that brat is Madara reincarnated. He may not have died at all, instead using that brat's body to be reborn. It's not too late. He doesn't have those eyes yet. Kill him while you still can. Whoa, more chains snaked out from behind Kushina. What are you talking about? He's Minato's friend, just a cocky little punk. You're being too loud, I should just shut you up. More and more chains wrapped around the nine-tailed fox's head, and he started to panic. Idiots. Idiots. You're going to regret this. Kushina. Kushina turned around, her voice cold. Don't try to manipulate me, Kyubi. No matter what happens, I will never regret this. Chapter 43 Behead. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The Eight Tails chakra was a raging storm. In his half-transformed state, every blow from Brubi felt like an avalanche. Uchiha Kagami danced around him like a butterfly, weaving through the insane energy. You've got all this power, but you can't control it. You've thrown away the ninja way for this monster form. All you've done is made yourself clumsy. You're slow, you're unresponsive, you're a mess. Do you even deserve to call yourself a ninja anymore? Uchiha Kagami's words cut deep, like knives twisting in Brubi's gut. His sanity frayed further, swallowed by the tailed beast's chakra. Anger clouded his mind. Roar. The chakra exploded outward, centered on Brubi, creating a shockwave that churned the water into a frenzy. Uchiha Kagami drew his blade, unleashing an invisible strike that cleaved a path through the storm. His voice, a devil's whisper, reached Brubi's ears. You were chosen to be a Jinchuriki because they figured you were expendable. And what did you get for that sacrifice? Cold stares, rejection, isolation. You're supposed to be a hero, but they treat you like a walking disaster. Brubi had deliberately avoided looking directly into the Sharingan. Everyone knew not to meet an Uchiha's gaze in a one-on-one fight, that's why he couldn't pinpoint Uchiha Kagami's location. But illusions aren't just about the eyes, they're about using chakra to mess with all five senses, warping reality. Visual illusions are the strongest, the hardest to break, but smell, hearing, touch, they can all be manipulated. Uchiha Kagami was using his words as a weapon, weaving an illusion around Brubi. He was subtly poisoning the tailed beast's chakra, eroding Brubi's mind. It was a technique that demanded incredible skill and the piercing insight of the Sharingan. A regular elite Jonin would have seen through it, broken free, but Brubi was in far worse shape. The pressure of being a Jinchuriki had worn him down, exhausted him. He was on medication just to stay calm. He was ripe for the picking. Shut up! Shut up! The roar ripped from Brubi's throat, his spirit on the verge of shattering. The more Brubi fought back, the more Kagami knew he was hitting the mark. He pressed his advantage, his words scraping against Brubi's raw nerves. The hidden cloud village is just using you. If they saw you as one of their own, they wouldn't treat you like this. You know they see you as a weapon. Isn't that why you're here? To test the Eight Tails' power. More and more tailed beast chakra erupted, forming a grotesque armor of white bones on Brubi's skin. It was a sign that the tailed beast was about to go berserk. Tailed beasts always seized on moments of weakness, aiming to break free. If the seal shattered completely, Brubi would die. A black seal appeared on Brubi's chest, the character for iron emblazoned in the center, the iron armor seal, the hidden cloud's way of containing the Eight Tails. The seal bore a striking resemblance to the Uzumaki sealing techniques, no surprise there. The Uzumaki clan had been wiped out by a coalition of nations hungry for their secrets. The first Hokage gave them the tailed beasts but not the chains to control them. Uzumaki Mito helped Hashirama seal the Nine Tails, setting a precedent. Everyone wanted the prize, and the Uzumaki clan paid the price. Uchiha Kagami had learned some sealing techniques from Minato, so breaking this seal wouldn't be impossible. Even if Brubi held on, the Eight Tails would eventually break free on its own, but... Yuki! Can you hear me? Even if you break free now, what will change? They'll just seal you up again. Die with Brubi. Free him, and you can be reborn. Crack. More bones erupted, the terrifying chakra forming a dense cloud that reached the sky. The Eight Tails chakra had completely overwhelmed Brubi's consciousness. In Uchiha Kagami's eyes, a perfect Jinchuriki was stronger than a single-tailed beast and stronger than a half-transformed one. Right now, the Eight Tails and Brubi were just holding each other back, a fraction of their true potential. If the seal broke completely, things would get messy. Uchiha Kagami had no intention of becoming the Eight Tails Jinchuriki. Even if he defeated it, the third Hokage would use it as a bargaining chip. Even if Konoha forced the Eight Tails to stay, the Uchiha clan wouldn't be allowed near it. Uchiha Kagami's goal was to kill the Eight Tails Jinchuriki and set Konoha and Kyomogakure at each other's throats. The war was forcing Konoha to send the Uchiha clan to the front lines. War was fuel for the Uchiha, and a few sacrifices were worth the power they would gain. Snap. Uchiha Kagami closed the distance, pressing his hand against the burning chakra on Brubi's back. The Sage of Six Paths gave people chakra to create bonds, to connect us. Yuki. I understand you. I'm the only one who can free you from this endless torment. That the bone growth slowed. Who are you? How do you know my name? Yuki hadn't spoken his name in nearly 1,000 years, not since the early days. The tailed beasts had once tried to live in harmony with humans, but it was all driven by greed. Humans were always at war, always trying to steal their power. Eventually, the tailed beasts came to hate humans as much as humans hated them. Uchiha Kagami. Our ancestor was Indra, the Sage of Six Paths' son. These Sharingan are proof. Your names are etched on our clan's stone tablet. Our ancestors saw you as brothers. Uchiha Kagami lied through his teeth. I see. I recognize those eyes. Yuki hadn't been subjected to Uchiha Madara's control, so he didn't bear any particular grudge against the Sharingan. He knew that one of the sage's sons had inherited his eyes. I've died before. I don't know when or where I'll be reborn. I'll never trust humans again, even if you are a descendant of Indra. Boom. The bony arm slammed Uchiha Kagami away. He spun through the air, a strange smile on his face. He had placed a sealing array where he'd touched Bruby's back. He hadn't expected to talk the Eight Tails into dying. He'd used the time to reinforce the iron armor seal. The seal was now at a critical point. The Eight Tails couldn't break free just yet, and Bruby couldn't regain control. Swish. The invisible blade sliced off a giant tentacle, an octopus limb forming from pure chakra. Bastard! Uchiha Kagami ignored the Eight Tails' roar. The three tomo in his eyes spun wildly, the scarlet color almost bleeding. 8. A technique customized to the target's individual strengths and weaknesses. Using the power of the Sharingan, Uchiha Kagami had created a single-strike soul-splitting technique, Higurashi. Without expanding the domain, even Sukuna could only use 8 by first coming into contact with a living being. The existence of chakra eliminated that limitation. The Sage of Six Paths had hoped chakra would connect hearts. But it had become a luxury. Chakra had become a weapon, a tool of death. Uchiha Kagami extended his hand, palm open, as if throwing something. Thump, a heartbeat, screech. A piercing scream tore through the air, time, space, everything was cleaved apart. Slash release. To another world. The ultimate, perfect cut. The world seemed split in two. A clean crack appeared between the half-transformed beast's horns. Chapter 44, Hunger for Power. You are listening at novelfull.audio. A deep ravine split the earth where Furubi lay, the tailed beast's chakra cloak still clinging to his bisected form. Extracting a tailed beast meant certain death for its Jinchuriki. Conversely, the Jinchuriki's death also spelled doom for the tailed beast trapped within. The sluggish trickle of red chakra resembled spilled blood. Uchiha Kagami, standing over Furubi's corpse, looked like a demon feasting on the carnage. Even in death, Furubi's body pulsed with residual tailed beast chakra. Having witnessed Minato and the others absorb tailed beast chakra during the Four Tails battle, Kagami saw no reason to hide his actions. If questioned, he'd simply attribute it to the Sharingan, something they lacked anyway. So, you just killed the Jinchuriki like that? Jiraiya and the others arrived, expressions etched with disbelief. The fight had been brief. They hadn't even seen Kagami use any ninjutsu. They'd only caught fragments of his speech, and saw him mostly dodging. Then, cold, a single slash, and the Eight Tails Jinchuriki was cleaved in two. Even Sarutobi Hiruzen, his own teacher, couldn't pull off something like that. Kagami offered no explanation. This wasn't a battle won through brute strength. He'd played dirty from the start, exploiting Belubi's inner vulnerabilities with precision. If words could weaken the enemy, Kagami had no qualms about becoming a motormouth. Gazing at the body on the ground, Jiraiya, ignoring Kagami's chakra absorption, frowned and sighed. Kagami, you acted too rashly. If we'd attacked together, we might have captured the Eight Tails Jinchuriki alive. Now that he's dead, Mangekyo won't let this slide. Sensei, you're wrong. It was Minato who spoke, his voice firm and gaze steady. Yunin struck first, killing our comrades. We should be the ones not letting this go. He had noticed the mangled bodies of Konoha ninja at the edge of the battlefield. Their intelligence also pointed to Mangekyo as the aggressors, the first to invade the land of fire. I know. Jiraiya's face was etched with bitterness. I know. I hate this endless cycle of war. If peace lies at the end of this war, I'll fight until my last breath. Minato declared with a hopeful smile, observing the sheer volume of chakra being absorbed by Kagami. Minato cautiously inquired, how are you holding up? Kagami possessed a similar sealed space, one door containing Sukuna, the other available for storing the chakra of these tailed beasts. Only a few 3-card stacks of 9 Tails chakra remained in the corner, in contrast to the dozens of stacks of 4 Tails chakra. The absorbed 8 Tails chakra amounted to roughly 200 calories. The Eight Tails primarily utilized water release and possessed unique abilities, holding considerable research value. The tailed beasts were, after all, byproducts of yin-yang release. Each type of tailed beast chakra could subtly deepen Kagami's understanding of yin-yang release techniques, and with a deep enough comprehension, he even entertained the possibility of directly unlocking the power of the eternal Mangekyo Sharingan. Unlike Orochimaru, who could grow Eight Tails horns from a mere speck of skin, Kagami envisioned a more streamlined process. The Sharingan represented the pinnacle of yin release, and he had touched the essence of chakra through the black flash. Orochimaru's research, reaching the cellular level, allowed him to perform molecular level analysis. TSK, Orochimaru, too bad you don't have the Sharingan. Regaining his composure, Kagami turned to face everyone. Like I said, it's just a tailed beast. Only a weirdo like Jiraiya-sensei would struggle to deal with something like that. Bang, caught off guard, Kagami was struck hard. Such speed. Such power. That stung. Who was it? Ah. Kushina. What was that for? Kagami, clutching his head, exclaimed angrily. Her punch packed more of a wallop than even the current Raikage candidate, AI, as expected of an Uzumaki descendant, a woman capable of suppressing the Nine Tails even on the brink of death. Kushina clenched her fists, her red hair whipping like a tail. I have to work my butt off to suppress the Nine Tails. Your words make me sound like just some weirdo. A certain old man wisely kept his mouth shut. Kagami quickly assessed the current power dynamic between himself and Kushina. It felt like he stood a chance, but in a fight, Minato would undoubtedly side with Kushina. He'd lose in a 2-on-1. It should be known that Kagami usually keeps outsiders at a distance. Within the Uchiha clan, his relatives considered him a well-behaved, cheerful, and sensible child. When Obito's grandmother was still alive, she refused to believe Obito whenever he claimed Kagami bullied him. Kagami's smile never seemed fake, as sunny and warm as Minato's. The Nine Tails is a different beast entirely. Even the first Hokage struggled to seal it. In my opinion, it's stronger than all the other tailed beasts combined. So, when judging the strength of the tailed beasts, I don't include the Nine Tails. Kushina, you misunderstood. Unlike the future Sasuke, Kagami, as a representative of the Uchiha, understood when to posture and when not. There was no shame in making appropriate concessions. The man who knows when to bend and when to be tough is a true man. Seeing Kagami's warm smile, Kushina unclenched her fists. I told you. Although he could be a bit cocky, he's still a sensible kid, and Uchiha Madara. That Nine Tails guy is just a liar. She raised her hand and gently ruffled Kagami's hair. Call me Sister Kushina. Just talk, don't touch my head. Kagami, barely containing his irritation, barely managed to restrain himself from knocking Kushina's hand away. Such a childish temper. What's wrong with a little head pat? Minato smiled wryly as he observed the two, who were teetering on the brink of an argument. He felt that Kushina wasn't as mature as Kakashi. At least Kakashi knew how to soothe the Uchiha. Carefully pulling Kushina away, he said, if Kagami doesn't like it, then don't do it. You don't like people giving you nicknames, right? Hearing Minato's words, Kushina seemed to realize she was wrong. She approached Kagami again, leaning familiarly on his shoulder. Alright, kid. Don't be angry anymore. I'll treat you to barbecue when we get back to the village. Sister, I'm loaded. Kagami curled his lip in disdain. I own a whole street in the Uchiha district. Those were Elder Divine Fire's assets, now in his name. Well, I own a street in Konoha's commercial district, *tch, so what? It was still destroyed by the Nine-Tailed Fox's rampage. Jiraiya quietly pulled Minato aside, leaning close to his ear, he whispered. Minato, how far have you and Kushina gotten? Sensei, as you know, traveling and collecting materials is expensive. Mariboshi Kosuka was a silent observer, his eyes crinkling in a smile as he watched the new generation of Konoha ninja. In his eyes, even Kagami, while ruthless towards enemies, still cared for his companions. The four of them had been working as a team for over half a month, enough time to find their rhythm. Looking at the three, Kosuka was reminded of the previous generation of ninja. Minato's personality was superior to Jiraiya's, Kagami was as cold as Orochimaru, and Kushina, she and Tsunade were distant relatives and as close as sisters. Surely, where leaves dance, fire burns. Sensing the relaxed atmosphere, Kosuke tapped the iron pot on his back. Hungry? How about I cook something and we eat and chat? Great, great. I haven't tasted Uncle Kosuke's cooking in ages. Jiraiya perked up immediately. During the garrison period, they were lucky to eat a hot meal every few days, often having to rely on ration pills to stave off hunger. His mouth was drier than a desert. They were all ninjas, and even Kushina, with her limited mission experience, had seen her share of death. Eating next to a corpse was hardly unusual. I brought a lunch. Retrieving a lunchbox from his small backpack, Kagami stepped aside and began eating alone. No one commented or pretended to notice. Initially, Kushina had struggled to understand Kagami's aloof behavior, and Kosuke assumed Kagami disliked his cooking, until they saw what Kagami ate. Uchiha's medicinal bath wasn't just topical, some were ingested as well. Kagami's lunchbox was devoid of flavor. It was simply a bag of medicine. Kushina, in disbelief, grabbed some to try. It was even harder to stomach than the ration pills. Minato and Jiraiya had known about this for a while, so they weren't surprised by Kagami's power. They just didn't quite understand why Kagami was so hungry for power. Chapter 45 The 3th Ninja War begins. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Bang! The stone table shattered, the raw power of chakra cracking the office wall. The third Raikage, fists clenched, glared at AI, whose chest was bandaged, radiating murderous intent. You piece of trash! You abandoned your teammates. How dare you show your face here? AI hung his head, hot tears streaming down his face, consumed by self-blame and guilt. If he hadn't been so reckless, rushing Scarlet Eye alone, he wouldn't have been knocked out cold. Blooby wouldn't have sacrificed himself to cover their retreat. Lord Raikage. This was all my fault. I'll take the blame. I'm the one who deserves to die. Tutai dropped to his knees with a thud, sobbing. In the conference room, Kurabi looked young, his expression hidden behind small sunglasses. His heart was heavy with grief. Bulubi was his mentor. Tutai, you retreated because of me. AI's voice was raw and broken. He knelt and bowed deeply. Lord Raikage, I won't take the coward's way out. Let me die in battle. The third Raikage stared intently at his son. This wasn't an empty gesture. He truly wanted to kill that kid. If AI followed Tutai's example, he wouldn't hesitate to end him. He grabbed AI by the neck and hauled him up. You'll live with this shame. Only your enemy's blood can wash it away. Konoha is too strong. The third Raikage fell silent, gazing out the window. There are no permanent enemies, only permanent interests. The fourth Raikage would eventually set aside the hate for his father's murder to work with Inoki in the fight against Uchiha Madara. The third Raikage was cut from a similar cloth. According to Dodai's intel, Konoha's Ninetales Jinchuriki was ready to go, and some kid had mastered the Flying Thunder God technique. The Sannin were in their prime, and Sarutobi Hiruzen's legend still held strong. Uchiha, mirror, could this guy actually reach the level of a ninja god? Absolutely not. In the minds of the third Raikage, Inoki, and others, Uchiha Madara was in the same league as Senju Hashirama. Their fight forced an end to the 1,000-year Warring States period and established the ninja village system. There couldn't be another one like that, especially not in Konoha. Bang! In the dark underground lair, Danzo Shimura slammed the table. Fools! Arrogant! Bastards! I went through hell to instigate a fight between Kumogakure and Iwagakure, and Konoha just gets to sit back and watch. Why kill the Eight Tails? Why not just neutralize him? We wait for Kumogakure and Iwagakure to beat each other to a pulp, then we clean up what's left. Why now? Jiraiya. Namikaze Minato. Uchiha Kagami. Idiots. The battlefield shifted. Kumogakure and Iwagakure, previously locked in a brutal conflict, unexpectedly joined forces to invade the Land of Fire's border. The war had officially kicked off, a full-blown ninja world war. Orochimaru, originally stationed at the Wind Country's border, was forced to pull back to help defend against Iwagakure. The Wind Country didn't have the guts to stir up trouble, but they sure had the guts to take advantage of it, and they were doing a bang-up job. Raza, the newly appointed 4th Kazekage, officially declared war on Konoha. The trial period ended way earlier than in the original timeline. Uchiha Mirror's existence was more than just a butterfly flapping its wings, he was a straight-up gale, blowing apart the ninja world's rusty old windmill. Konoha, facing a three-front war, suffered heavy losses early on, with many border guards killed. More and more ninjas were being deployed to the front. The Ninja Academy's graduation age was lowered to 9 years old, the newly formed Minato squad was broken up. Minato wasn't some infinite energy machine, and he couldn't cart Kushina and Kagami around everywhere, he dropped dead from exhaustion. Based on their combat ability, Minato and Kushina joined the Western Front, fighting alongside Orochimaru against Sand Village and Iwagakure. The Four Tails and Five Tails finally got their wish, squaring off against the Nine Tails Jinchuriki. It was a straight-up curb stomp. If Iwagakure's ninjas weren't massively outnumbering Konoha, Kushina would have been forced to pull her teammates out of there. The Four Tails and Five Tails would have been toast. Sunagakure battlefield, they thought. Konoha lost White Fang, and the Sand Village puppet masters could breathe again. Guess what? Something faster and scarier showed up. The war was accelerating Minato's growth, and he earned the moniker Konoha's Yellow Flash by one-shotting 7 Jonin-level puppet masters. Seriously, Konoha was wiping out Sand Village's puppet masters. Eastern battlefield, even though the Hidden Mist Village had no plans to join the war, they still had to be watched. The second Mizukage crossed countries just to kill the second Tsuchikage. You never knew what those guys were going to do. Even Iwagakure and Kumogakure were keeping an eye on Kirigakure. Nara Shikaku, commander-in-chief of the East, stared at the group of Uchiha in front of him, lost in thought. He got the job because the pressure here was less than on other fronts. More importantly, he had a good brain, but he had zero experience commanding the Uchiha clan. Especially with a bunch of white-eyed Hyuga nearby, why did they have to send the two main Aijutsu clans in Konoha to him? The sudden change in the war had forced Sarutobi Hiruzen to send out most of the Uchiha ninjas. Assigning them to the eastern battlefield was a calculated move, putting limits on the Uchiha strengths. After all, mist shadow technique and water style were hard for most Uchiha to master. Fugaku was still on the western front, so Shinhwa was leading the Uchiha clan here. You could only imagine what these Uchiha were like. Commander Shikaku, Kagami told us to take your orders during the war. He glanced at the Hyuga clan, a smirk on his face. We Uchiha aren't like these sheltered kids. You can just give the orders without worrying. Shinhwa was already showing his age, signaling that Uchiha Kagami was their leader. Taunting the Hyuga was just icing on the cake. The Hyuga team leader was a young man, and he scoffed at that. He was about to fire back, but then he remembered what the clan head said. Screw it, that Uchiha kid was a monster, so he'd give him a pass. He'd be here when their house of cards came crashing down. Elder Shinhwa, Elder Qinjian, I'd like to discuss the defense of the eastern battlefield with you too. Northern defense line. A tall, white-haired man squatted on a cliff, scoping the area with a telescope. He stopped at a small waterfall, imagining a few girls stripping down for a bath. Someone needs to cut that thing off. Uchiha Kagami said casually. Jiraiya gave him a dirty look. You're the reason all this is happening. I finally had some downtime, and now the old man wants me stuck on the front lines. I don't know when that rakeage is going to hit us. Waiting around is the worst. Small skirmishes had broken out between the Hidden Cloud ninjas and Konoha ninjas at the border. Sarutobi Hiruzen had ordered Jiraiya and Uchiha Kagami to stay in the middle and not participate in the skirmishes, preparing to deal with the third rakeage surprise attack. Once the third rakeage was spotted, they were to send a message to Konoha and hold him back, and he would personally attack. Riding the momentum of 2 previous ninja world wars, Sarutobi Hiruzen hadn't lost his nerve. He didn't reprimand Uchiha Kagami for killing the 8 Tails Jinchuriki, because Kumogakure killed Konoha ninjas first and declared war. Uchiha Kagami's actions were considered a counterattack. It counted as 3 S-rank missions, and he could pick a sealing book ritual when he returned to the village. He'd stabilized Konoha after the death of the second Hokage, ended the first war, and won the second war. Sarutobi Hiruzen wasn't the indecisive old man he'd become later. When Sunagakure declared war, Sarutobi Hiruzen formally issued documents, declaring war on the land of wind, earth, and lightning. It seemed laughable that Hanzo declared war on the three main villages back then, but Sarutobi Hiruzen's declaration, history will record, the Third Ninja World War begins here. Chapter 46. You can start running away. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Uchiha Kagami sat, legs crossed, mostly focused on studying the chakra of the tailed beasts. Suddenly, something landed near him, tossed from Jiraiya's side. He caught it, a scroll. What's this? Jiraiya didn't even turn. You and Minato have been researching how to add elemental changes to the Rasengan. This is some work I did with the old man. Our experiment didn't pan out, but this is a prototype. Minato signed a contract with Myobokusen. They only take one summoner per generation. I've taught you pretty much all the ninjutsu I know. I don't really have anything else to show off. Jiraiya finally turned, grinning sheepishly. Consider it a birthday present. Happy 10th, Kagami. That if I weren't an Uchiha, maybe I would have picked you. Unfortunately, we're headed in different directions. Jiraiya-sensei. Kagami held the scroll, his expression unreadable. Konoha, year 47, the relentless fighting had dragged on for over a year. War, a savage beast, descended upon the ninja world, claws bared, it swung the scythe of death, leaving rivers of blood in its wake. Ninja battles caused casualties rivaling those of wars fought with firearms. The small countries bordering the major powers had become meat grinders. In every ninja world war, the small countries, caught between the giants, suffered the most. Ninjas didn't ponder the nature of war, they just fought to protect their homes. The will of fire, passed down by the first Hokage, was vague, but it inspired a generation to sacrifice themselves for Konoha. The ninja world was abnormal, whether you were strong or weak. To survive, you had to embrace the abnormality. In the mountains and forests, Obito was practically vibrating with excitement. Kakashi. Think we'll see Kagami this time? That show-off's been hogging the battlefield. Humph, once I unlock my Sharingan, even Kagami will bow down to Lord Obito. After doing grunt work for what felt like forever, he was finally headed to the front lines. Even if it was just a supply run, Obito was already imagining himself wiping out the enemy, making Kagami finally see him differently. Heh, and then there's Lin. Heh. Kakashi held a book in one hand, its cover concealed by a plain black wrap. Obito, you need to call me Kakashi-sensei. I'm your squad leader, remember. Kakashi, now 11, had become a jonin a year earlier than in the original timeline. Between Kagami's occasional beatdowns at the academy and Jiraiya's dedicated teaching, Kakashi's talent had flourished. This often led Jiraiya to lament how he was a late bloomer, and his students were surpassing him one after another. Compared to Kagami, who'd risen to jonin purely through combat achievements, Kakashi was only 2 months behind. Even with his genius, nobody in Konoha would compare Kakashi to Kagami. Just as famous as the Scarlet Eyes was the Yellow Flash, including Kushina, the Ninetales Jinchuriki. They were considered the new generation of the legendary Sannin by the other villages. The value of these three was considerably higher than the original Sannin had been at their age. Since making a name for himself, Minato hadn't tasted defeat. Among them, Minato had achieved the most spectacular accomplishment, defeating Kazekage Raza. Whether Raza was a good guy or not, he was still the Kage of his village. Jerk Kakashi, don't get a big head. Just wait till I unlock it. Keep waiting. Kakashi closed his book. You're becoming an embarrassment to the Uchiha clan. As a ninja, you haven't unlocked your Sharingan. I doubt you ever will. Stick to being a genin and don't even bother with the upcoming Chunin exams. What did you say? Obito was about to argue, but his eyes suddenly widened, and he shoved Obito aside. Shink. Star Dutta Kunai landed where Obito had been standing. An explosive tag was attached to the handle. Spread out. Boom. As the smoke cleared, 5 or 6 ninjas wearing Kumogakure wrist guards stood on the treetops. Silver hair, short sword. We've got intel on you. He's the son of Konoha's White Fang, Jiraiya's disciple, and Yellow Flash and Red Eyes Jr. Shink, Star, the fleeting blade was lightning fast. Kakashi appeared behind the one who'd spoken, his chakra-enhanced dagger piercing the man's heart. Too many labels. Just call me Hatake Kakashi. Asuril. Damn it. The Konoha bastard killed Asuril. Kakashi pivoted, deflected an attack, and retreated back to the team, his eyes, dull and lifeless. You Cloud guys always attack first, then whine when we kill you. Is that some kind of tradition? Bastard. How dare you insult the hidden Cloud village? You'll pay for that. Feel our wrath. Kakashi sighed, spending so much time around Kagami had immunized him to low-level insults. He'd even picked up a few things himself. You guys deserve it. You Kumogakure types have the brains of gnats. All you know is how to steal. I suggest you evolve again, starting with gorillas. You're barely human. Then, Kakashi muttered, Obito, Rin, send the signal flare and defend yourselves. Got it. Before heading to the battlefield, Obito and Rin had gone through a bandit encounter package, so they wouldn't freak out at the sight of a dead body. Just as Kakashi raised his blade to strike another Cloud ninja, a shuriken landed near his feet, *clang. He sensed the danger and activated his lightning-fast reflexes, thunderclap flash. *whoosh. Boom, a massive shuriken materialized where he'd just been standing. You dodged magnetic style, Sparrow be twin blades. Just as expected of Red Eye's apprentice. Your brain must have been fried by lightning. I'm his junior apprentice. Sweat trickled down Kakashi's forehead as he eyed the figure stepping out from behind the tree, short purple hair, a yellow scarf, and that trademark giant square shuriken. Just as Kumogakure knew the strong in Konoha, Konoha had files on the strong from Kumogakure, the jonin from the hidden Cloud village, whose bloodline limit was magnetic release. Troy. A jonin with a bloodline limit was undoubtedly an elite. What was a guy like that doing in the Land of Fire? I just wanted to disrupt Konoha's supply lines, but I ran into a bigger fish. Troy said calmly, whether you're a disciple or junior, you're always going to be more important to Kagami. Try to run, but your two companions won't make it. Kakashi gripped his short sword and sneered. It's you Kumogakure who would abandon your own to save your skin, that whether it was my father, or myself, we, the Hatake family, will never abandon our partners. Yeah. Bang. Bang. Bang, Troy held a scroll in his mouth and summoned 3 giant cube shurikens. You were quick, but those 2 brats got marked by my shuriken. They can't dodge my jutsu. Obito and Rin looked down in horror, noticing a small shuriken at their feet. So, what will you do? Whoosh, a giant shuriken hurtled through the air. Obito. Rin. Get over here, Kakashi yelled, lightning erupting from his dagger. Swish, the first shuriken was split by the short sword, sending shards slicing into Kakashi's arm, damn it. No time to rest, the second was coming. The short sword bit into the shuriken, but the magnetic interference and the wound on his arm prevented Kakashi from completely cleaving it in half, bang, the force sent Kakashi flying, through bloodshot eyes. He saw the third shuriken flying toward Obito and Rin, kunai in hand. Obito was shaking in fear, but he resolutely stood in front of Rin. I'll protect you no matter what. I swear it. An unfamiliar chakra began to flow into his eyes, as if something was about to awaken, clang, at that moment, a faint sound echoed, and the shuriken in front of him was sliced to pieces by an unseen force. Clatter. The sound of the fragments falling froze everyone in place, abruptly halting Obito's potential evolution. Footsteps echoed from the woods, a slender figure slowly approached, not yelling, not radiating any menacing aura. The moment they saw him, the Cloud ninja felt like they'd met their natural predator. Their first impulse wasn't to run, but to stop breathing, their bodies trembling, like a rabbit in a lion's den. I should mention, Kakashi isn't important to me. Secondly. His cold gaze swept across them, an invisible pressure trapping them in amber. You can start running now. Chapter 47, Madara, I am the protagonist of this world. You are listening at novelfull.audio. If a squad runs into red eyes and yellow flashes, they're authorized to abort the mission. As long as they make it back to the village alive, there's no penalty, even though that's the unofficial rule. Not many survive facing both. The few who did live shared their secret, that if you can pose a threat to anyone on Minato Namake's team, he might let you go instead of chasing you. But facing Uchiha Kagami, it's all about luck, pure luck. If he's eating and you don't bother him, he probably won't stop his meal to attack. It's a sad state of affairs. The current Cloud Village not only pissed him off but also picked a time that wasn't lunchtime. Run! Troy screamed, his calm demeanor completely gone. Even if the odds of escape are slim, why not try? Don't underestimate the hidden cloud. Damn it! Out of the entire hidden cloud force, only Troy had the guts to run. I can't control my arms and legs. Thump, something dropped, and there was a rolling sound. Troy kept running, sprinting for his life. His blood was pumping, rushing from his heart straight to his head. Something's wrong, why can't I see? Why is my head on the ground? His head rolled, seeing his body still running. Come back, take me with you. Don't you realize your brain is gone? Uchiha Kagami lowered his hand. Then, several sounds like fruit falling to the ground echoed. Beheading is too messy, executing by beheading is more refined. Uchiha Kagami wasn't interested in playing games with these guys. It'd be beneath him. He turned around. You're such a loser, Kakashi. You can't protect anything. Kakashi carefully pried his short sword from the shuriken and glared at Uchiha Kagami. You think everyone's a monster like you? He was a jonin with a Kekkei Genkai. He shouldn't have been an opponent at my level. Feeling the vast difference between himself and his two older comrades, Kakashi never considered being on the front lines. He usually took on smaller missions, hanging out with his former classmates. Back at the academy, Kakashi wanted to compete with Kagami, but he quickly gave up on that. Anyway, I've achieved way more than expected for my age, which is still pretty awesome. Is he just a prodigy? Uchiha Kagami shifted his gaze to Rin. It's alright, Kakashi, once you experience real helplessness, you'll crave power. Kagami. Master Kagami, thank you for saving us. Rin Noera was still blushing. It was her first time coming so close to death, so being scared was normal. Despite being the same age and classmates for years, Rin knew Uchiha Kagami was on another level. Thank you. Obito looked away. I could have protected Rin even if you didn't show up. No, you really couldn't, Uchiha Kagami chuckled. Kakashi stepped closer. Kagami, what are you doing here? Kakashi knew they were responsible for transporting supplies to the Western Front, while Uchiha Kagami was supposed to be guarding the North. Classified. Can't say. Uchiha Kagami said calmly. Kakashi, Rin, can you two go somewhere else? I need to talk to Obito. Hey! Don't go. This Uchiha Kagami guy is definitely going to beat me up. Don't leave. Kagami, don't think I'm scared of you. That if you weren't shaking, I might believe you. Uchiha Kagami didn't waste any time with Obito, his eyes turning red. You're not going to tell me. Poof! Uchiha Kagami placed his hands on Obito and whispered to himself. It has to be you. As he injected his eye power, Obito's back bulged, like something was about to burst out. A mass of strange, white substance oozed out from his collar with a whooshing sound, creating a horrifying scene. You are. Before the white Zetsu clone could even ask questions, his eye sockets were also taken over by the Sharingan. It was like a number was dialed, invisible ripples connected their consciousness. In an unknown underground space, the white Zetsu serving Uchiha Madara suddenly cried out in pain, clutching his head. What's wrong? Uchiha Madara slowly opened his eyes. Only when he saw one of white Zetsu's eyes transform into a Sharingan did he show any real emotion. What? White Zetsu fought fiercely, trying to expel the invading eye power. Don't resist, Uchiha Madara said calmly. Soon, a pair of Sharingan occupied white Zetsu's eye sockets, and his expression became indifferent. Interesting. That level of eye power has to be Kagami, right? Did you unlock the Mangekyo? Uchiha Kagami spoke through White Zetsu's mouth, adapting slightly. Madara, you're really still alive. No need for many words, Uchiha Kagami knew Madara was secretly watching him and wouldn't ask how he found the clues. With his eye power, he must have seen the stone tablet in the shrine. Finding Zetsu's spores on Obito was a surprise, but since he was an Uchiha, it was natural that he'd pull something like that. Uchiha Madara's voice sounded old but not weak. Obito is my chosen successor. Do not hurt him. Of course, I won't harm the Uchiha clan any more than you did. My clan. Uchiha Madara seemed to remember that evening when no one from his clan followed him. Kagami, what do you want? I want to see you and confirm something. No need. I'm dying. It's too ugly to linger like this. A faint smile appeared on White Zetsu's face. Madara, I need to know how I compare to the legend. An old, hoarse laugh echoed. You really are like Izuna, except you really don't know your place. Boom. A terrifying eye power, like a mountain of corpses and a sea of blood, filled the space like the roar of countless demons. The three tomo in White Zetsu's eyes spun wildly, the extremely cold eye power stood firm like a reef in a sea of corpses and blood, never faltering. You really are getting old, Madara. How can you tolerate being in such a weakened state? What are you planning? Uchiha Madara wasn't angry, saying calmly. Peace in the ninja world. Kagami, not everything in this world goes as planned. The longer I live, the more I realize the helplessness and sadness that permeate reality. If there's a winner, there's inevitably a loser. They are causally linked. Love breeds hate. Love and hate are intertwined, and that is war. That is reality. With your current eye power, you cannot read the last part of the stone tablet. Otherwise, you wouldn't ask such a question. Tell me what you think of the ninja world. With your level of eye power, you are also qualified to be my successor. There was silence. Kagami smiled. Don't think that just because you've been around longer, you can lecture me. Someone has to win, so why can't it be me? Who wants to be your successor? Uchiha, the future of the ninja world is mine to decide. I am the protagonist of this world. Madara. Chapter 49, Madara. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The land was all grass, an eagle's cry echoed through the clouds overhead. Uchiha Kagami slowly opened his eyes, his Sharingan spinning with three pure black tomo. It was a resonance of power, a pull of blood, though miles apart. The two pairs of Sharingan locked onto each other, a massive surge of chakra erupted. Well, as the younger guy, I should say hi. Fire style, fire extinguisher jutsu. A sea of fire blotted out the sky, engulfing everything. The air crackled and roared as an endless sea of flames spread for hundreds of yards. He wove another sign, and the fire surged. Flaming dragon heads rose from the conflagration with savage roars. Atop Kunyu, Uchiha Madara gazed up at the all-consuming inferno, at the dragon heads gathering terrifying power, ready to strike. A smirk touched his lips as he raised his flaming fan. A decent fire style, but it's useless against me. But the fiery dragons hung in the air, as if waiting for something. The giant eagle carrying Uchiha Kagami was closing in. Rumble. Uchiha Madara noticed circular pits forming in the ground around him. It was as if a giant spoon was scooping up earth. Earth style, earth rift dumpling. Chakra detected the earth's rocks, lifting them into the air for an attack. The giant rocks kept rising. Bang, exploding, they were absorbed by the flaming dragons. Interesting. Madara's eyes gleamed, realizing a simple fire style wouldn't cut it. The kid was using a combination. Not bad. Perched on the giant eagle, Uchiha Kagami made a hand seal and laughed. Master Madara, your evaluation, please. Ninja art, dragon star fall. Boom. The sky exploded. Dozens of flaming dragon heads, carrying heaven's fury, descended on the world below. Good idea, a real talent for developing ninjutsu. Uchiha Madara remained still. Facing this meteor shower, his aged face showed no fear. As a greeting, barely acceptable. Rumble, flames roared upwards, like a fiery demon bursting free from hell. Fire style, great fire annihilation, that the flames surged forth like a ravenous beast, carrying unstoppable destruction. The battlefield was instantly illuminated, the heat distorting the air. The power of ninjutsu isn't about difficulty, it's about the user. The collision of fire on fire instantly turned the rocks into powder. The surging heat whipped her long hair. It's been a while. It had been too long since his last real fight. This frail body was a constant humiliation, forcing him to cling to life for his plan. This battle could affect his choice of successor, but, faced with a challenge, how could Uchiha Madara, with his towering pride, ever back down? The Uchiha existed to fight. Clang! Breaking through the sea of fire, Kagami appeared beside Uchiha Madara in a blur, spinning and swinging a sword. Though ancient, Uchiha Madara still possessed reflexes few could match. With a flick of the chain, the sickle blocked the blade. His eyes fixed on the long sword in Uchiha Kagami's hand. It looked like an ordinary katana, but Madara recognized it instantly. Mito, you've inherited it now. How could he not know it? It was Izuna's sword. Madara had taken much in the past. His brother's sword had stayed with the clan. Izuna had loved it. Uchiha Kagami grinned, an almost savage expression. Don't get lost in memories, or I'll chop you to pieces. The invisible strike cut through the sickle and aimed for Madara's head, chest, and abdomen. Uchiha Kagami had come to kill Madara, no holding back. No one had the right to show Uchiha Madara mercy. A layer of dark blue chakra armor manifested, and the blade shattered on impact. An invisible slash, I know your specialty. Madara flicked his wrist, an immense force surged through the sickle, pinning Uchiha Kagami down. What terrifying power! I may be old, but you're too young. I fought Hashirama, who could crush mountains with his bare hands. Veins popped in Uchiha Kagami's hands, unwilling to be overpowered. I've always had a question. Please answer it for me. Why do you believe Hashirama Senju would commit suicide? What weapon could kill him? So, you found out quite a bit. Uchiha Madara said casually, but that's a naive question. If I hadn't stopped Hashirama, he would have killed himself. Despite everything since, I've never doubted his resolve then. Uchiha Kagami seemed relieved and asked again. Do you regret it? Would it have been better if you'd let him die then? Regret? That it was less a fight and more an elder helping the younger to find clarity. Hashirama fell, he's the one who should regret it, not me. I'm always on the right track. That this was why Uchiha Kagami gave up telling Uchiha Madara the truth. Pointless, he's just like me, he only trusts his own judgment, never learn. No, they're the kind of person who will break the wall down. I see. I think I'm on the right side. That an incredible amount of chakra surged out, faint black lines wrapping Uchiha Kagami's wrist. The sudden increase in force shattered the sickle. Uchiha Madara grabbed the chain, jumping back, eyeing Uchiha Kagami with interest. Even for an Uchiha, your style is too extreme. Tell me, what is this right path you believe in? Uchiha Kagami seemed to be smiling, holding Mito in one hand and his snowy sleeve in the other, a dark aura swirling around him. It doesn't matter. Battles are about the winner forcing their beliefs on the loser. If the loser argues, it's a joke. Uchiha Madara's eyes widened, and he laughed. The forest around them was burned to ash, nothing growing for miles. Well said, Kagami. I can feel your desire to fight, just like me, and the same logic as Izuna. I'm thrilled to see you. You were just born sooner than me. I am not like you. I am who I am. Swish, Uchiha Madara held the flaming fan and sickle handle. That's my self-introduction. Now. Let's warm up. Bang. Across time, the two top Uchiha masters of their respective eras collided with a deafening explosion. Chapter 50 Control. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Coming from a time of chaos, fighting was baked into Madara Uchiha's DNA. no matter how Jin Uchiha attacked, Madara always countered with the perfect move at the perfect time. This marked Sukuna's first foray into the outside world. Before, it was Kagami Uchiha who'd absorbed his cursed energy after a fight, or sometimes even before. Not anymore, just absorbing wasn't enough. Kagami forced Sukuna's cursed energy into overdrive with his own chakra, turning it into fuel for the war. He was switching from a fixed power source to a mobile one. If Sukuna had been watching through a screen, now he could feel it. His main body was still locked up, but a ton of cursed energy was getting drained. Honestly, if Sukuna really fought it, he could slow down the energy flow, but Sukuna was loving every minute of it. Use more, yeah, more, you'll get hooked on this power sooner or later. And Kagami Uchiha wasn't about to refuse using Sukuna's juice. What rider turns down their own horse? The twin blades clashed against the sickle, creating sonic booms. Madara's body didn't allow for big movements. His movements were ghostly, and you never knew when that scythe would come down, like the Grim Reaper himself. Jin Uchiha, on the other hand, leapt and darted, every move flawless, as light as a swan taking flight and as graceful as a swimming dragon. Gorgeous battles were the Uchiha clan's trademark. Watching Kagami Uchiha, Madara felt like he was looking at a younger version of himself. I ran into a ninja clan once that controlled ghost energy. They raised evil spirits, carved curse seals on themselves, and borrowed the spirit's power in battle. Kagami, an Uchiha using such filth. Madara couldn't see Sukuna, but one touch and his experience told him what kind of energy he was dealing with. He knew something truly evil was living inside Kagami Uchiha. Filth, huh? Kid. Kill this old fossil. Chop him into little pieces. Take all the power you want. Kagami Uchiha ignored Sukuna's ranting and chuckled. I control the Sharingan, what's some nasty evil spirit gonna do? Fair point, Madara Uchiha said, like it was obvious. At the same time, the three Tomo in his Sharingan spun like crazy. Let's see what kind of Uchiha power you really have. Boom. Pure, terrifying pupil power erupted. Instantly, they were on a blood-soaked battlefield filled with the sounds of war, and on that battlefield, an unbelievable palm, wreathed in the currents of time, shifting from old to strong to young. It gripped a jet-black spear, its tip sharp enough to pierce through time itself. Shing! Pain shot through his nerves. Kagami Uchiha felt like a spear had just run him through. A massive hole opened in his chest. Genjutsu. The Uchiha clan's bread and butter. Madara Uchiha was so good at illusions, only Hashirama Senju could break them. A pair of scarlet eyes stretched across the battlefield, so huge they couldn't get any bigger. Next to them, Kagami Uchiha was like a grain of sand compared to the stars. Inside that vast pupil power, black and red threads wove together like a canopy. Then came chariots and warhorses. Kagami Uchiha stood on the chariot, the hole in his chest already healed. The overwhelming pupil power raining down from above was stopped by the chariot's canopy. You haven't even unlocked the Mangekyo. This time, Madara Uchiha was floored. From what he'd seen through White Zetsu and their physical fight, the pupil power was way beyond a standard 3 Tomo. Madara thought this kid had more eye power than he did when he first unlocked his Mangekyo, but now, with the real genjutsu clashing and their pupil powers mixing, this kid wasn't even using the Mangekyo. Just 3 Tomo. Because I don't want to hurt my brother. Kagami Uchiha looked up at the blood-red eyes above the battlefield. I want to directly grab power you can't exhaust. That's one reason I came looking for you. Good. Perfect. You're a damn natural, Kagami. Blood-red eyes like the moon. Younger Madara Uchiha, he stepped off the blood moon and shattered it. His bright red armor was soaked in battle lust. Madara Uchiha charged the chariot with a wild laugh, totally pumped. Then I, Madara Uchiha, will be your opponent. As masters of the same eye technique, in a clash of illusions, fear, terror, or even admiration are a quick defeat. Spiritual energy is the most dangerous power Madara Uchiha had, and that was the area where Kagami Uchiha shined the brightest. Kagami Uchiha stretched out his hands, interlaced his fingers like a pair of wings, and grinned like a madman. Darkness boiled above the chariot, like it was pregnant with something seriously messed up. With an ominous cry, the first monster clawed its way out of the darkness. It had a monkey face, raccoon body, tiger legs, snake tail, and a pair of huge eagle wings. The new, straight out of legend, one after another. The new burst forth, and endless darkness surged like a wave, swallowing the blood-soaked battlefield. Release, new massacre, asterisk whoosh. An azure blade sliced the nearest new into black water. The giant Susanoo blade stretched hundreds of meters, lighting up the dark space. A basic skeleton shielded Madara Uchiha. Since you don't have the Mangekyo, let me show you. This is the ultimate eye technique within the Mangekyo Sharingan. The perfect offense and defense. Power on par with a tailed beast. Susanoo. Kagami Uchiha's hand gesture remained unchanged. Countless Nu were killed by Susanoo's blade like moths to a flame. Excuse me, but when you say, on par with a tailed beast, you're talking about the Nine Tails, right? That the younger Madara Uchiha's expression became more obvious. He frowned. Of course. What other beast is worthy of comparison to Susanoo? You're right. Kagami Uchiha smirked, and the black water that Madara Uchiha had sliced up began to swirl back together. The black lines on its body grew sharper, putting more pressure on Sukuna. Sukuna watched, stone-faced, and even helped Kagami Uchiha a little. He was waiting. Maybe this was his chance. If Kagami Uchiha lost, a space slash at the right moment might break the damn seal. New massacre, modified. Nine beasts disaster. That the scattered black water surged together, devouring even the afterimages of the battle. Asterisk roar. Starred at a deafening roar shook the entire illusion. An incredibly huge, savage beast howled at the sky. Nine tails swayed like black flames. The Nine Tails. You've seen it before, huh? Asterisk crack, crack. Starred at a skeleton started to appear, followed by muscle, then skin. The dark blue Susanoo stood on the battlefield, towering over even the giant beast. Kagami, you can't fight a summoner with their own summons. That's absurd. The black and red chariot was now on top of the beast, and the giant nine-tailed beast opened its eyes, revealing a hint of scarlet. Funny or not, guess we'll find out.